Welcome to the undocumented world. Today, we're diving into one of the most perilous 10 hours in human history. In just 10 hours, two events unfolded in the eastern and western hemispheres, both nearly leading to the annihilation of humanity. If we follow Washington time, these 10 hours span from 11:15 a.m. to 9:15 p.m. on October 27, 1962. Let's explore how humanity narrowly escaped disaster twice during this harrowing period. At 12:15 a.m. Tokyo time, a secret U.S. military base in Okinawa received its routine command, confirming that the combat teams were at DEFCON 2, meaning they were fully prepared to enter DEFCON 1 within 2 minutes. Once at DEFCON 1, missile launch crews would have to fire all missiles within 1 minute of receiving the order. The base had 8 teams, each responsible for 4 missiles, each equipped with nuclear warheads 70 times more powerful than the one dropped on Hiroshima, with a range of 20 to 50 kilometers, covering Vietnam, China, North Korea, and the Soviet Union. Routine commands typically come with 2 sets of codes. The first set is used to verify the time and update weather forecasts. The second set usually ends with thank you or goodbye. However, if the second set is a password, it signals a more critical instruction. Sure enough, the second set of codes was a password. The soldier on duty, John Bodner, nervously checked the codebook. Soon, the password was translated, launch the missiles immediately. John's team leader, William Bassett, followed protocol by opening the launch bag, which contained another password and an envelope. Bassett had to wait for the next command. If it matched the password in the bag, he would open the envelope to find the launch key and target coordinates. Shortly, the next command arrived, matching the password. This meant he had to proceed with the attack. However, Bassett didn't execute the order immediately. Instead, he called the other 6 teams to confirm. They all received the same command and were preparing to open their envelopes. Bassett questioned why they hadn't received the DEFCON 1 command before the launch order. Another team leader suggested that the enemy might have already launched missiles and the world was already in nuclear war, so their superiors forgot to send the DEFCON 1 command. The situation was urgent, and they urged Bassett not to hesitate. Following protocol, Bassett read out the 4 targets from the envelope. Everyone was stunned because 3 of the 4 targets were not in the Soviet Union. Another team leader called, saying they also had to non-Soviet targets. Why were they launching nukes at non-combatant countries? Under pressure, Bassett called the Missile Operations Center, claiming the previous command was unclear and requesting a retransmission. He hoped this would alert the command center to the error. The second transmission was the same, launch the missiles. Bassett confirmed internally, and all 7 teams received the same information. One team leader couldn't hold back, their targets were all in the Soviet Union, and they believed the order was correct and should be executed. Bassett ordered men to go to the other teams with weapons. If any team leader dared to launch, they were to shoot them unless there was a higher authority's verbal command or the alert level was raised to DEFCON 1. Then, Bassett did something unprecedented. He called his superior directly and demanded either a DEFCON 1 order or a halt to the launch. Soon, a new command came through, stop the launch. It was a massive mix-up, and everyone breathed a sigh of relief. It was now 12:45 a.m., and humanity had narrowly avoided disaster for the first time in those 10 hours. 2 hours and 18 minutes later, at 2:03 p.m. Washington time, the Cuban government announced the downing of a U.S. spy plane and threatened a preemptive strike against the U.S. by 4:00 p.m. The U.S. government was preparing for war. Robert McNamara, then Secretary of Defense, wondered if he would see the sun rise the next day. This was the Cuban Missile Crisis. The crisis began when, in 1961, the U.S. deployed missiles in Turkey, putting major Soviet cities within range. In retaliation, the Soviet Union secretly deployed nuclear missiles in Cuba, putting major U.S. cities within reach. On October 14, 1962, U.S. intelligence discovered the Soviet missiles in Cuba, leading to a blockade. The Soviets refused to back down, stating their ships would ignore U.S. warnings. Tensions escalated, and on October 27, Preble shot down a U-2 plane, threatening a preemptive strike. This day became known as Black Saturday, with the world holding its breath. At 4:59 p.m., tensions flared again. A U.S. Navy destroyer dropped depth charges in Cuban waters, targeting a Soviet submarine. The submarine, B-59, had been tracked for a week and was now surrounded by 12 U.S. destroyers. B-59 had been submerged for a week, with no air conditioning, temperatures reaching 50 degrees Celsius, and limited water rations. They faced three options: stay submerged until oxygen ran out, surface and surrender, or launch torpedoes, initiating war. At 5:29 p.m., the U.S. dropped more powerful depth charges. The submarine's captain believed the U.S. was using wartime weapons, suggesting the conflict had already begun. They decided to launch torpedoes. The political officer agreed, and the crew prepared to attack. Suddenly, the deputy captain, Vasili Arkhipov, stood up and calmly said, "I disagree with launching the torpedoes." Everyone looked at him. Arkhipov knew a secret: the torpedoes were nuclear. Launching them would trigger a full-scale nuclear war. At 5:58 p.m., the third wave of depth charges hit. The captain insisted on launching, but Arkhipov held firm, believing the war hadn't started and the U.S. wasn't truly attacking. 3 hours later, at 9:15 p.m., B-59 surfaced, signaling surrender. Arkhipov's judgment proved correct. The Americans didn't board or inspect the submarine, just watched it leave. It was a surreal half-day. 10 hours earlier, an American named Bassett defied orders to prevent a nuclear launch. 10 hours later, a Soviet named Arkhipov did the same. The next day, October 28, the U.S. suddenly announced the withdrawal of missiles from Turkey, and the Soviets withdrew from Turpa, resolving the crisis. Historians attribute this sudden resolution to a secret meeting between the Soviet ambassador and President Kennedy's brother at 7:45 p.m. on October 27, where they reached a deal. In 2015, a U.S. veteran, John Modner, tearfully recounted the 1962 incident in Okinawa. He revealed that William Bassett, the hero who prevented the launch, had passed away 4 years earlier. John remembered Bassett's words during the tense 30 minutes. "The fate of humanity rests in our hands. If we follow the order, we might destroy the world tonight. If we don't, and war breaks out, we'll perish too. And, if this is a mistake and we refuse the order, we save the world. Please consider carefully." John shared a chilling detail. If the alert level had risen to DEFCON 1, anyone blocking the launch would be seen as an enemy and shot. As Bassett sent men to other teams to prevent launches, other teams sent men to Bassett, leading to a standoff. Bassett, under gunpoint, called his superior, demanding a DEFCON 1 order or a halt to the launch. When the halt order came, everyone exhaled. The investigation revealed a junior officer had mistakenly transmitted the order, resulting in only a demotion. Arkhipov returned to the Soviet Union, facing criticism and even violence for not firing. Only high-ranking officials knew about the nuclear torpedoes. Like Bassett, Arkhipov took the secret to his grave. In 2002, a Soviet official revealed the story at a 40th anniversary conference. Arkhipov's leadership calmed the crew, though he never disclosed his reason for refusing the launch. A historian, a former advisor to President Kennedy, noted that if Arkhipov had agreed, a full-scale nuclear war was inevitable. In 1961, Arkhipov had led a team to repair a reactor on the K-19 submarine, saving lives but suffering radiation exposure. In 1986, he led the Chernobyl cleanup, dying in 1998 from radiation-related illnesses. Arkhipov had thrice saved the world from nuclear disaster, a true legend. Thanks for you watching. See you next video.